Bahashim Yahushai Barakatham to all my brothers. Shalom Yahweh Shamar Elathan Bahashim Yahushai to all my sisters. This is your brother Sharmoff coming to you with another video. Today's topic is going to be about the 12 tribes of Israel. How to prove that the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that's in North, South, and Central America are the original Hebrews, are the descendants of Jacob, right? I'm going to prove that through scriptures, through biblical evidence and history, and current history as well, and evidence. Right, so the first scripture I'm going to go to is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Right? So, the Most High then brought us into Egypt again. This is not speaking of physical Egypt, but it's speaking of slavery, and we're going to get that. This is the book of Exodus chapter 20 verse 1. And Yahweh spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Right? So the land of Egypt was the house of bondage. That is what Egypt was referred to, the house of bondage, right? And we're going to look up bondage. Outline of biblical usage: slave, servant, manservant, right? So we were enslaved in physical Egypt. We were manservants. We were in slavery in physical Egypt. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So the Lord shall bring us into bondage, into slavery again with ships. Our ancestors came over here on cargo slave ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, right? So it was also prophesied that we will be sold unto our enemies for slave men and slave women, and that no man shall buy us. Meaning that our enemies were buying us, right, as slaves, but there was nobody there to basically say what you're doing is wrong. Of course, a few people would basically try to help us escape, but the Edomites, or the white race as a nation, they were selling us left and right. Right, here's a few articles, right? It says, hold on, let me get one. All right, to be sold on Thursday the 3rd day. A cargo of 94 prime healthy Negroes consisting of 39 men, 15 boys, 24 women, and 16 girls, right? So basically, we were sold unto our enemies. For slave men and slave women, we were auctioned off. $250 for prime Negro men, women, and children. We were auctioned off in America. We were sold until our enemies sold us amongst themselves to each other. Right? That only happened to the southern kingdom of Israel, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. The Negro Americans, the West Indies and the Caribbean islands, and the Haitians. Those are the only tribes. Those are the only 3 tribes that went through the transatlantic slave trade, right? Now the next scripture I'm going to go to is the book of Genesis, chapter 49. verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons, and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. So basically, Jacob is on his deathbed, and he tells his sons, his 12 sons, I want you to gather around me, because I'm going to tell you what is going to happen to your descendants, the original Hebrews in the last days, who come from you. Gather around me, and what I'm telling you, I want you to listen. Verse 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and my might, in the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power, right? So basically, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power, right? Reuben, the Seminole Indians down in Florida, right? They basically fought 3 wars with the United States cavalry, which is the U.S. Army, right? The 3 wars that they fought were in 1817, 1835, and 1855. Unstable as water thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch. So basically, Reuben, the Seminole Indians, the tribe of Reuben, they fought 3 wars, 1817, 1835, and 1855, right? But after 1855, they basically gave up. They did not excel when it came to winning the war against the U.S. cavalry. They did not excel. They gave up. The next scripture is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 6. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. Right? So, there's a lot of Simeonites that live in Florida. So, there's many of Simeonites, which are from the tribe of Reuben. I'm gonna look up some basically pictures of the Simeonites. Of the Seminole Indians, right? See right, these are the Seminole Indians here that live in Florida. Hold on. Okay, so the next scripture is the book of Genesis chapter 49 verse 5. So now we dealt with Reuben, the tribe of Reuben, the Seminole Indians, how they were excellent in power and in strength as well. They fought 3 wars with the United States cavalry, 1817, 1835, and 1855. But they lost the 3rd war. So Reuben, they basically were unstable as water. They migrated to another land. But the next scripture we're going to get is book of Genesis 49:5. And we're going to deal with two tribes. The tribe of Simeon, the so-called Dominicans, and the tribe of Levi, the so-called Haitians. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations, right? So Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. This is now keep in mind that Jacob is basically letting his kids know about the prophecy of their descendants that will come from them in the future, right? And the things that their descendants will go through. So the tribe of Simeon and the tribe of Levi, they are brothers, right? Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. A habitation is basically the land that they live in. The Dominicans and the Haitians, the habitation that they live on, or the island that they live on, is the island of Hispaniola, right? And the instruments of cruelty that the Dominicans use against the Haitians is a instrument of cruelty, right? Which is voodoo, right? Voodoo is the instrument of cruelty that the Levites from the tribe of Levi use against the Simeonites, which are the Dominicans, right? And the Dominicans, and the black magic that the Dominicans use is followers of this Dominican spiritual tradition believe that God created intermediaries to help human beings known as los misterios. Right, so basically, the tribe of Simeon and the tribe of Levi, they both live on the same island, which is Hispaniola, right? You got the tribe of Simeon, they were basically conquered by the British. They were enslaved by the British on the island of Hispaniola. And then you have the tribe of Levi, the Haitians, they were conquered by the French. They were enslaved by the French, right? But the tribe of Levi, the Haitians, they overthrew the French in 1802, I believe. The fact that both of these tribes were enslaved on their habitation, which is the island of Hispaniola, those are instruments of cruelty. And the black magic that they use against each other are instruments of cruelty as well. Alright, so the next scripture I'm going to get is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 8. And of Levi he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with the Holy One, whom thou didst prove at Manasseh, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah. The Urim and the Thummim. is basically what the Levitical priests used in order to make decisions. Right, so the next scripture I'm going to go to is Book of Genesis 34 and 25. It's like the Book of Genesis chapter 34 verse 25. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. Right? Alright, so basically a quick brief story on that scripture, that Jacob's daughter Dinah, she got raped by an African. So Simeon and Levi, they basically deceived the heathens by telling them that, look, if you serve, the only way that you can become, like, basically the only way that you can be good with us and serve our God is if you circumcise every male that lives among you. So they circumcised every male that lived among them, and then at night, Simeon and Levi, they went through the village on a slaughtering rampage, slaughtered every single one, man, woman, and child. Right? Verse 30. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, Ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and among the Perizzites. And I, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me, and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. Right? So basically, the tribe of Simeon and Levi, they basically slaughtered the Africans for what was done unto their sister, Dinah. Now this is the book of Esther, the book of Esdras, chapter 2, verse. Hold on, I'm not gonna go to that yet. You see, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 8. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up. So basically, we dealt with Reuben, that's one tribe, which is the Seminole Indians, with Simeon, the tribe of Simeon, and the tribe of Levi, that's the Dominicans and the Haitians. Alright? So that's 3 tribes. Now we're dealing with the tribe of Judah, the quote-unquote Negro Americans, right? Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up. Like, as far as us, right? Judah, like, we have no problem being a young lion when it comes to our own people, right? Like, basically, when a young lion sees his prey, it pounces on his prey, right? Judah, the American Negroes, quote unquote, we have no problem with being a young lion and looking at our own people for prey. But when it comes to other nations, right, we are not that young lion that look at them as prey. We are old lions who are basically lazy and docile, right? Everything that happens to us by these other nations, We are not the young lion that look at them as prey, but we are old lion, lazy and docile. So who is going to rouse us up? Rouse the children of Israel up. Who's going to rouse the tribe of Judah up, basically, right? Christ. Christ is going to rouse the tribe of Judah up. Now, also dealing with the tribe of Judah, right? You have the Black Panther Party. You have the Black Panther Party, right? The Black Panther Party, it existed from October 15, 1966 to October 1982, right? So basically, before integration, the tribe of Judah, we were that young lion. With the Black Panther Party, we were that young lion. Basically, we was fighting for each other. You know what I'm saying? Basically looking out for one another in that era of the Black Panther Party, right? From 1966 all the way up until 1982. In 1966, we were that young lion looking at our enemies as prey. But when it came to 1982, we became as that old lion that didn't want to do anything. We became old, lazy, and docile, and we started to turn on each other. But who's going to rouse up the tribe of Judah, you so-called Negroes? Christ, Yahushua, is going to rouse us up again. And we're going to, subdue these other nations. And they're going to serve us. Okay, now we dealt with the tribe of Judah, you so-called Negro Americans, right? The next scripture I'm going to go to is the book of Isaiah, chapter 63, verse 1 and 2 in the Old Testament. The book of Isaiah, chapter 63, verse 1 and 2. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garment from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there is none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So basically, Yahushua the Christ, the son of Yahweh, the son of God, right? He's going to be roused up. He's from the tribe of Judah. He's going to be roused up when he comes back. He's going to destroy the enemies of the Black Panther Party, right? Which are the enemies of the tribe of Judah, the so-called Caucasians. Yahushua is going to be roused. He's going to be that young lion roused up again. And he's going to look at the enemies as prey. And he's going to sprinkle his garment with their blood. His garment is going to look like it's dipped in blood, because of so much blood he'll have on his garment from slaughtering the enemies. So we dealt with, the tribe of Reuben, you so-called Seminole Indians, the tribe of Simeon and Levi, you so-called Dominicans and Haitians. We dealt with the tribe of Judah, you so-called Negro Americans. Alright, so the next tribe we're going to deal with is the tribe of Zebulon, right? So the next scripture we're going to go to is the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 13. The book of Genesis, chapter 49, and verse 13. Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea. Salakia. I'm going to read one more scripture about the tribe of Judah, then I'm going to get to the tribe of Zebulon. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be, right? So, Yahushai is from the tribe of Judah. Yahushai is the lawgiver, right? Yahushai is the lawgiver. And Yahushai is going to be the one to gather the 12 tribes of Israel. All of us are going to be on one accord when he comes back. Binding his foal unto the vine and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth white with milk. So basically, Yahushua is going to put a lot of his enemies to death. And his garment is going to look like it is dipped in wine. That's how red it is going to be. Now dealing with the tribe of Zebulon, the people that live in Panama. Genesis chapter 49, verse 13. Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for the haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zion. Even the land that the tribe of Zebulon had in the ancient days, right? That border was also a haven of ships as well for merchants to come and do their trade. Now I'm going to go to the book of Genesis chapter 16 and 19. The book of Genesis chapter 10 and verse 19. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest into Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. Right, so here's a picture of see the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal is an artificial 82-kilometer waterway in Panama that connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean and divides North and South America. The canal cuts across the Isthmus of Panama and is a conduit for maritime trade. So basically, the Panama Canal is a haven for ships, where ships come, where merchants drive their ships to come and do trade, right? And trade goods and produce. A lot of food that America gets comes from Panama. So we dealt with the people that live over there in Panama, right? They are the tribe of Zebulon, the tribe of Zebulon, right? Next scripture is Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 18. And of Zebulon, he said, rejoice, Zebulon, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. Right? So basically, Zebulon was rejoicing because Zebulon was able to go in and out of their land by the ocean, because the land that Zebulon was in was a safe haven for ships. So the tribe of Zebulon was able to go in and out and do trade. Alright, so the next tribe we're going to deal with is the tribe of Issachar. These so-called Mexicans in North America, in South America too. In Central America too. The book of Genesis chapter 49 verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. So Issachar is a strong ass, right? The biblical ass is a donkey. Issachar is strong, and they're couching down between two burdens. Right? For one, the burdens that Issachar is couching between are North America and South America, right? And also, the minimum wage for a regular factory worker in Mexico is $4.15 a day. And he saw that rest was good in the land, that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear and become a servant unto tribute, right? So basically, the Mexicans, they are, the land of Mexico is plenteous with produce. But the tribe of Issachar, they became servants for tribute, servants for money. Plums, they come from Mexico. Soursop. Pitaya comes from Mexico. Sapote comes from Mexico. All of these fruits that we eat, the majority of them come from Mexico. The Issacharites, they basically pick the fruits off of the trees, and they do these things for tribute, for money. Then they basically do trade. They sell their produce that they picked for tribute, which is money. The next scripture I'm going to get is the book of Genesis chapter 49 verse 19. I'm going to be dealing with the tribe of Gad. Yeah, quote unquote North American Indians. Gad, a troop, shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Right? So Gad is a troop. The Native American Indians was overcame by the United States Army in 1622 and in 1924. Now the next scripture I'm going to get on the Gadites is Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 20. And of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. Right? So basically, in this war that the Gadites had fought with the American army, when the Gadites would basically, you know what I'm saying, kill their enemies, Gad dwelled as a lion. The Native American Indians, the Gadites, they basically would pit paint on their faces, and they would hunt their prey. They would stalk their prey in the tall fields of grass, right? The Native Americans, the Gadites, they would stalk their prey. They would crouch down and stalk their prey, right? And at a time of opportunity, the Gadites would pounce on their prey and they would kill their prey, all right? And when they would kill their prey, how they would kill their prey is that the Gadites would put the knife to their enemy's scalp and have their other hand pulling the enemy's hair. So when the Native Americans, the Gadites, they would cut the enemy's scalp, and then they also would pull the enemy's scalp off of his head. So the Gadites, they would basically do that, and they would use these and keep these for souvenirs, right? To show proof that they killed their enemies. And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of Yahweh and his judgments with Israel. So basically, when the northern kingdom came to this land, which is America, the Native American, the tribe of Gad, the Native Americans, they basically were the lawgivers. They basically set the laws of God in motion so that they would be able to follow the commandments of God in the land where no man ever dwelt. Right, so we're going to look at a picture of the Native American Indians, right? Show you that the clothing that the Native Americans wear, right, is also biblical. The fringes that they wear on their garments are biblical, right? We want to see that they wear fringes with a ribbon of blue. Alright, so matter of fact, alright, so here's the picture here. Hold on. Here's the picture here, right? Alright, so you see this Native American woman, a Gadite, with fringes on, right? And a blue ribbon above the fringes, right? And why do all Native American men, women, and children wear fringes with a ribbon of blue? We're gonna get that in the scriptures, right? Now, we saw how we read that the Gadites were the lawgiver. So this is the book of Numbers, chapter 15. The book of Numbers, chapter 15, and verse 30. Alright, Alright, so the book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 37. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their nations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of Yahweh, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart, in your own doing, in your own eyes, after which ye used to go whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God. I am Yahweh your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, to be your God. I am Yahweh your God, right? So basically, fringes and a ribbon of blue, just like you see in the book of Numbers 15:37, that the children of Israel, they were basically told to make fringes and to put upon the fringe a ribbon of blue, a blue ribbon, which you see here, right? So basically, that is proof that the Native Americans keep the Most High's commandments, because the fringes in the blue ribbon that they have on their clothing comes from the book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 38 to verse 41. So the Native Americans in North America, they are the Gadites, the tribe of Gad. They are the original. They are Jews as well. Alright, so now the next tribe we're going to deal with is the tribe of Asher. So the next scripture we're going to go to, the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 20. The book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 20. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties, right? So Asher, the tribe of Asher, meaning they will have a lot of food, and they will have good food as well. But when they make plates and when they prepare their food is basically looked at as food of royalty because of how plenteous it is, right? So we're going to get a few pictures of Brazilian food. Brazilian food, right? So this is Brazilian food here. And the Brazilians are the tribe of Asher, right? Now, look at that. Food like that. This is a royal dainty. This is the type of food that a king and a prince will eat, right? So the next scripture is Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 24. And of Asher he said, Let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil, right? Asher is not only in Brazil. Asher is also in Venezuela as well. Asher is also in Venezuela, right? So the tribe of Asher, it says, and of Asher, he said, let Asher be blessed with children, let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in water, right? So basically, this is speaking of the Asherites, the tribe of Asher that's in Venezuela, right? That the tribe of Asher that's in Venezuela, the tribe of Asher that is in Venezuela, right? A lot of oil basically comes. The land of Venezuela is plenteous with oil. And the tribe of Asher that lives in Venezuela, there's a lot of them. So they are accepted by your so-called Brazilians, which are your tribe of Asher as well. It says the last oil rig has officially left the premises in Venezuela. That is, their Nabor said it had shut down its final active drilling rig. So basically, the oil comes from Venezuela. So the tribe of Asher was dipping their foot in oil, basically, meaning the land that they lived in, which is Venezuela, that land was very plenteous in producing oil. Right? That is basically why all of the wars and atrocities happen over there in Venezuela, because of the oil. Right, so the next tribe I'm going to deal with is the tribe of Naphtali. I'm going to go to the book of Genesis chapter 49 verse 21. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words, right? So we're going to look at the definition of hind. Naphtali is a hind let loose. Outline of biblical usage, dare. So Naphtali is a dare let loose. Like, when you see a deer run, a deer has agility and speed. Naphtali is a dare let loose. He giveth goodly words, right? So this is we're going to look at the goodly words that the Argentinians give. Right? The Argentinian motto, union, liberated, in unity and in freedom anthem, right? Hold on, we're going to look at some images. And Salaki, I couldn't find it, but basically, Argentina, the tribe of Asher, is a dare let loose, meaning they have speed and agility, right? A lot of Asherites. A lot of the tribe of Naphtali, They are in Issachar. In soccer, it requires speed and agility. That is all you see the tribe of Naphtali is doing, is playing soccer. It's basically showing off that they have agility and speed, right? The next scripture I'm going to go to is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 23. And we're dealing with the tribe of Naphtali, it's so-called Argentinians who live in Argentina, right? Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 23. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with the blessing of Yahweh, possess thou the west and the south. Right? So the tribe of Naphtali, they are blessed by the Lord. To know this is a future. These prophecies, these scriptures that I'm going into are future prophecies of the descendants of the 12 children of Jacob, right? Which will be basically their descendants will be the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So every scripture that I'm going into is basically a prophecy of the 12 tribes of Israel and the lands that they will live in and their characteristics and their attributes. So we can identify them today. And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children, let him be acceptable. I mean, not Asher, but Naphtali. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor, and full with the blessing of Yahweh, possess thou the west and the south, right? So the tribe of Naphtali, in the future, they're going to possess the west, the western part, and the southern part of the land that they will live in. So here's some images of Argentina, right? Alright, so you got Argentina is the southern part of Argentina is the southern part of the land that the tribe of Naphtali inhabit, and Chile is the western part of the land that they inhabit. Right, so the tribe of Naphtali, they are the people that reside in Argentina. Yeah, so-called Argentinians are the tribe of Naphtali. The next scripture I'm going to go to is the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis 33:17. We're going to deal with Ephraim and Manasseh. Your tribe of Ephraim, which is your so-called Puerto Ricans, and your tribe of Manasseh, which are your so-called Colombians. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. Basically, Ephraim was the head tribe in charge of the southern kingdom of Israel. That's what it means that Ephraim shall push the people together. Meaning Ephraim push the other tribes together of the southern kingdom and basically had them cross the ocean in order to get to America, right? Alright, so the next scripture I'm going to get is the book of Hosea, chapter 7 and 8. Ephraim he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Basically during the conquest of the Spaniards against the tribe of Ephraim in the land of Puerto Rico that they inhabit now, a lot of Ephraimites they mixed themselves with the Spaniards, with the heathens. A lot of Ephraimite men married Spaniard women. A lot of Ephraimite women married Spaniard men. Ephraim is a cake not turned, right? So we want to get the definition of that. A cake not turned. To turn, overthrow, overturn. To overturn, to turn, about, turn, over, turn around, right? So basically, Ephraim is a cake not turned. So basically, Ephraim, they have very, very fair skin. The Puerto Ricans have very fair skin. You have Puerto Ricans, the tribe of Ephraimites that have dark skin complexion too, but the majority of Ephraimites have fair skin. And also the Manassites too, which are the Colombians. So the next tribe I'm going to deal with is the tribe of Benjamin. The next scripture I'm going to go to is Deuteronomy 13 and 12. If thou shalt hear, hold on, let me see, Deuteronomy. It's like Deuteronomy 33 verse 12. And of Benjamin he said, the beloved of Yahweh shall dwell in safety by him, and Yahweh shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders, right? So basically, the tribe of Benjamin, your West Indians who live in Jamaica, who live in the Caribbean islands, right? They're basically in the safety of the Lord, because to even get to those lands, you would have to cross the ocean. Now, you gotta worry about sharks, you gotta worry about tornadoes, you gotta worry about hurricanes and things like that. The elements of the earth, or the things that Yahweh causes to happen, you gotta worry about them to even get to the land of the Benjamites, right? Which is the Caribbean islands. So the Benjamites, your Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Grenadians, the Benjamites that's in Barbados, they are in safety because of the lands that they live in. Right, so Shalom Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Barakatham to all my sisters. Shalom Yahweh Shamar El Athan Ba'Hashem Yahushai to all my sisters. This is your brother Shar Moth. I want to end this video off by saying all praise, honor, and glory is due unto Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, and definitely exaltation is due unto him as well. Hope you brothers and sisters been edified on the breakdown of who are the 12 tribes and how to identify them today on this earth. That is my time. Shalom.